Well, y'all wanted to make me suffer with a Tubi sequel of Black Men Don't Cheat. If you haven't seen the first one, basically, Martell told his wife that black men don't cheat. But you see, he had 2 wives and a bunch of side hoes. Once his lies caught up to him, his wife Jennifer ended up shooting him. The sequel is actually a prequel and focuses on Martell's past. Part 2 begins with Martell narrating his life before getting popped by his wife. He was a high school dropout who hustled and had big dreams. He had terrible parents. Martevius, his dad, was a pimp, and his mom was a crackhead. Martevius even had his side hoes constantly fighting for him. There was a constant presence in his life, a girl named Jennifer, but he was annoyed of her best friend Tootie.
Nigga, do I look like your mama?
By the time he got his first apartment, Jennifer moved right in and made sure Marcus, Martell's younger brother, graduated from high school. It was around then that Martell wanted to dump Jennifer, so one time he came home drunk at night and was about to cut things off with her. But Jennifer said she's pregnant. Martell doesn't know how they'll afford it because Jennifer don't even work. He reiterates that he's single now and Jennifer should use a coat hanger, but she refuses. Eventually, he makes up his mind to be a better father than his dad. One time, while getting down with one of his hoes, Miss Big Back gets mad because he didn't pull out, and she doesn't want to parent a child when he already got a child with Jennifer. Ever since, he promised to never let his girls know about each other. Several months later, Jennifer is 8 months pregnant, while Diamond and Marcus cause a ruckus, so she sends them to play basketball. The two end up playing b-ball with Isaac and Dante, and those two make fun of Marcus' father. Once Martell comes home, Jennifer scolds him for coming home late. Martell can care less as he goes to open up an envelope addressed to him that will change his life forever. Martell goes to meet Russo, his dad's lawyer, who informs him that his father had croaked and that he had several properties scattered across the city. One of them was a bar, and Martell is inheriting it. His father's assets will be split evenly amongst his 3 kids, Martell, Maya, and Marcus. Upon hearing that Marcus would have access to such a huge amount of money, Martell disagreed and told the lawyer that his little brother is a cracker, just like his mom, who was currently in rehab. So Martell requests that he manage it in Marcus's stead. Trifling lying Oz, brother. For that to happen, Russo told him to employ him as their lawyer, and he would solve all his problems, just like he did with his late father. Martell immediately agrees to the deal, so Russo hands him a card and tells him to get some classes on estate management. After Martell leaves the office, he contemplates what to do after finding out that his father has 31 kids. But Marcus and Martell were chosen to inherit. With the last words of the will saying, "Enjoy your life," Martell decides to do that. When he gets home, he tells Marcus that he would be running a bar and that their pops had croaked, but Marcus don't give a flying foo. Days later, Martell signs up for an estate management class and comes across Rachel, his beautiful teacher.
But I would like to see how you look when you first wake up.
Boy gets straight to the point. One day, Tootie, Jennifer's best friend, visits. Jennifer vents that she thought Martell would have more time for her, but this is not the case. He too busy breaking rulers with his tutor. While they talk about the name they had planned for the baby, a detective shows up asking for Marcus and interrogating him regarding an incident that happened in the park a few days back. Isaac and Dante were beaten and robbed. Realizing that Marcus must have done something, Jennifer quickly covers for him, and after the cop leaves, Tootie scolds him for not knowing how to handle cops.
You say 2 words, lawyer.
Bitch, that's 1 word.
Jennifer also learns that Marcus got some new shoes on. In about 2 weeks, Martell passes his course, so Rachel joyfully celebrates with him, and he takes her out to have a few drinks. There he opens up to her about his family issues and then rizzes her up, lying that he is single and would never cheat on her. One thing leads to another, and he takes her to a hotel where they do the clapping. Coincidentally, Jennifer's water breaks and her contractions kick in, so she moans in pain. The next day when Martell comes home, he sees blood on the floor, so he calls Marcus, and Marcus informs him that Jennifer had given birth. To the boy's surprise, Martell tells him he's not coming. Martell immediately leaves to get some milk permanently. 3 months later, Jennifer still hasn't seen him, and she feels very worried. But Tootie tells her not to worry since Martell is still paying rent, so she should fix her disheveled wig and get out the house. Reluctantly, Jennifer agrees, and she goes to a convenience store to get some sweets. There she bumps into Raphael, who tries to rizz her up, but she indirectly turns him down by revealing she just had a baby. Girl, that man more fwan than Martell. What is you doing? When she goes outside, she informs Tootie about it, and as soon as Tootie spots Raphael, she has him give his number to Jennifer. A while later, while they feast on some chicken wings, Jennifer spots Martell with Rachel, so she confronts him, but he quickly zooms off. He then lies to Rachel about Jennifer being his ex, and is surprised to see that she didn't flip out on him. Rachel tells him to get a DNA test, and if the baby is his, then he needs to care for the baby. Time passes, and Martell becomes more successful and continues his lifestyle, still being a hoe with different women. Meanwhile, Jennifer, who used to always call him, gradually reduces her calls until she stopped calling completely. When he notices, he reaches out to her, and they agree to plan their daughter Marciana's birthday party. By that time, Jennifer had almost moved on and was hitting it off with the foreigner Raphael. When Martell drops by Jennifer's, she briefs him on Marcus's felon behavior. He gets mad at her and tries to blame her, but she reminds him that he was the one who left. That's when he realizes Jennifer had another dude over, so he gets mad at her for having another man around his daughter. No wonder Jennifer shot Yo ass in the first movie. They argue, and at that point, when he could have left her, he changes his mind and wants to toss her salad, and to his surprise, she consents. Later, he looks for Marcus and finds him with Diamond, and immediately concludes they'd been up to no good, so he orders Marcus to stop what he'd been doing and work for him at the bar. Marcus refuses at first, but then finally agrees. As the days get closer to Tiana's birthday, Martell wants to keep Jennifer in his back pocket, so he frequents her apartment. Martell is a grade A narcissist, then later tells Rachel not to come to his daughter's birthday party. Rachel gets pissed, and no matter how he tries to explain his way out of it, nothing makes sense to Rachel. Around that same time, Raphael visits Jennifer and tells her he's ready to take care of her and Tiana, so he pushes for them to be official. She hugs him, but at the same time has second thoughts. This girl dumb as hell. Got a good man in Foyner too. Tubi clocks her, immediately knowing that Jennifer been trifling with Martell still. Tubi reveals that she saw Martell parading Rachel as his partner to everyone at a party, so she advises Jennifer to continue with Raphael. As Raphael and Jennifer bond, Martell thought of ways to get Rachel to forgive him and start talking to him again, so he proposes to her at the bar. While at it, Marcus, who works at the bar, take their photos. On Tiana's birthday, as Jennifer and Raphael head to the party, Marcus texts Martell about Jennifer's whereabouts, so Martell shows up at the park and reveals that he had clapping sessions with Jennifer recently. The men almost get into a fight, and right after Martell leaves, Raphael breaks up with Jennifer, leaving her crying and single AF. As if having a relapse, Jennifer has no one to go to, so she is at Martell's beck and call. His bar business goes well, so he opens another branch where Marcus and Diamond are in charge. Rachel also gets her real estate license, so she starts selling properties. But just when Martell thought things were going his way, Raphael contacts Jennifer, and she asks that they start over again. Right after they agree to meet later that night, Raphael approaches Rachel and tells her what Martell had told him on Tiana's birthday. She gets mad at him, but before she leaves, he spills more tea and advises to watch out for Martell. Meanwhile, Jennifer asks Marcus to pick a dress for her, revealing she is going to meet with Raphael. Shortly after, Martell calls her, saying he would be dropping by, but she tells him that she plans to meet with Raphael. He gets mad at her and says he was planning on buying her a house, but she hangs up on him. After the call, he sees Rachel leaving the house, so he quickly confronts her and tries to stop her. But she informs him about what Raphael had told her about Jennifer and how she had confirmed their secret meetings. Martell tries his best to convince Rachel, but she wasn't buying any of his BS, so she fights him and tosses the ring pop engagement ring. Martell knew he had to make Raphael pay, so he picks up the ring and calls Marcus, ordering him to stall Jennifer for about 30 minutes. Marcus carries out his plan, and while at it, Martell pulls up to Raphael's car with a gun and sees he'd bought flowers for Jennifer. Raphael tries to talk things over, saying he's breaking up with her, but Martell says he doesn't care about Jennifer and that he's going to whoop Raphael for ruining his relationship with Rachel. Martell orders Raphael to start the car and drive somewhere. Minutes later, Jennifer arrives and waits for a while, but doesn't see Raphael, so she goes home. She then finds a photo of Martell proposing to Rachel at the bar. She quickly calls Tubi and texts Marcus that she can't take it anymore and is leaving town to stay at her cousin's. As soon as Marcus reads the text, he rejoices, saying he finally has the place to himself, so he leaves the bar early with Diamond to celebrate. Coincidentally, he hears a sound coming from a few houses away. There, Martell had Raphael pull over and ordered him to get out of the vehicle. Unbeknownst to him, Raphael had grabbed the knife by his door. Martell beats him up severely to showcase his dominance. But right after he turns around to leave, Raphael stabs him in the back. Instinctively, Martell shoots him down. Martell is panicking while bleeding, but to his surprise, Marcus comes over and helps him up before assuring him he would take care of the body. It was at that moment that Martell knew how diabolical his little brother is, and it was more of a reason to have him as an ally. A week later, Martell gets discharged from the hospital, and he has no woman in his life. Since Rachel has moved away and wasn't picking up his calls, he decides to settle for Jennifer. So he meets up with Tubi, and a week later, she convinces Jennifer to meet with him. She eventually shows up, and he convinces her that he's done with Rachel. He then advised her to put all that had happened behind them because they are going to the Bahamas to get married. With that, they kiss, and he shows her their new home. Girl, grab that bag, then run. Time passed, and he was faithful to Jennifer for about a year after their marriage. But after she gave birth to Telly, their second child, things got complicated. Martell admitted that he had been hitting it off with women who reminded him of Rachel, and the closest to her was Shawnee. On the day Martell died, he reached out to Rachel, the dearest in his heart, and after a little convincing, she let him in, and they had a long talk. His efforts to find someone like her until he eventually spoke to her had lasted 15 years. The irony was that on the day he died, it was the best day of his life because he got to see Rachel, and he could finally move on from Jennifer. He wondered what would have happened if Jennifer hadn't snapped. Meanwhile, Rachel stares at their photo and tells her son she is looking at his father. Y'all, this was worse than the first one. If anything, this made me hate the characters even more. The only good one was poor Raphael. Baby, call me. What did y'all think of this one?
Hey, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe now and turn on the notification because YouTube isn't recommending my videos. And if you like to watch more foolishness, click here or here.